Have you ever felt the sting of betrayal? Not in the moment it happens, but in the silence before. The strange feeling that something is off, yet you dismiss it. Betrayal rarely announces itself. It moves like a shadow, quiet, patient, waiting for the right moment to strike. A friend becomes distant. A promise feels emptier than before. A conversation carries an undertone you can't quite place. These are not coincidences, they are cracks in the foundation of trust. And like a dam under pressure, the break never happens all at once. It builds, slow and unseen, until the weight of deception becomes too great to hold back. But here's the truth. No one betrays without leaving traces. The Stoics teach us that the wise man sees things as they are, not as he wishes them to be. When we ignore the signs, we do not prevent betrayal, we invite it. A person testing your boundaries, speaking in half-truths, or suddenly changing their behavior isn't acting randomly. They are revealing their intentions. The question is, will you notice before it's too late? Or will you look back, realizing the signs were always there? Stay with me, because today we're uncovering the warning signals of betrayal, and once you see them, you'll never be caught off guard again. 1. They start acting overly nice. One of the most deceptive warning signs of betrayal is unexpected kindness. At first, it feels like a blessing. Someone who was once indifferent or merely polite suddenly becomes overly generous, overly attentive, overly agreeable. They check in on you more than usual, offer favors without being asked, shower you with compliments, and make you feel like you've gained an unwavering ally. But something feels off. Deep down, you sense it's not genuine. This isn't their usual nature. It's not coming from a place of sincerity. It's calculated. And if you ignore your instincts, you might find out too late that their kindness was never about you. It was about them. Betrayers often mask their intentions with excessive warmth before they strike. Why? Because deception thrives in trust. A guilty conscience may push them to act overly friendly, as if their sudden kindness can balance out the wrong they're about to commit. Or worse, it's a strategic move designed to lower your defenses, to make sure you never suspect them until it's too late. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus once said, "A deceitful man wears a mask of kindness until his moment arrives." Betrayal rarely comes from an open enemy. It comes disguised as friendship. A person planning to deceive you won't show their hand. They will smile, flatter, and pretend to be on your side. But if you look closely, you will see the cracks, the excessive praise that feels rehearsed, the enthusiasm that seems forced, the sudden shift in behavior that doesn't quite add up. It's not kindness, it's a performance. Consider the story of John. He worked with a colleague named Adrian, who had always been professional but distant. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Adrian became unusually friendly. He started complimenting John in meetings, offering to help with his workload, even bringing him coffee every morning. John, though appreciative, felt something wasn't right. This was too sudden, too excessive. A few weeks later, the truth came out. Adrian had secretly positioned himself for a promotion by taking credit for John's work. The kindness had never been about friendship. It was a tool, a weapon to ensure John wouldn't see the betrayal coming. So, how do you protect yourself from this kind of deception? The answer lies in awareness and self-mastery. First, trust your gut. If someone's behavior suddenly changes without reason, don't dismiss your instincts. Second, observe patterns, not moments. True kindness is consistent. Fake kindness appears in waves, intense one day, distant the next. Third, remain vigilant. Words can be deceiving, but actions always reveal the truth. A genuine friend does not need to overcompensate with sudden, exaggerated warmth. If someone starts acting overly nice out of nowhere, ask yourself, are they being sincere, or are they just waiting for the perfect moment to strike? 2. They fish for personal information. Some betrayals begin not with an attack, but with a conversation, a seemingly harmless one. Someone who was never particularly interested in your life suddenly becomes unusually curious. They ask about your goals, your struggles, your past mistakes. They listen intently, nodding with empathy, making you feel understood. It feels good, maybe even refreshing, to have someone take such an interest in you. But if you pay close attention, something is off. The conversation is always about you. They don't reveal much about themselves. Their curiosity feels strategic, not genuine. Here's the truth. If someone suddenly becomes overly interested in your personal life, especially your weaknesses, your frustrations, or your future plans, they might not be gathering wisdom. They might be gathering ammunition. Betrayal is rarely impulsive. It is often planned. And before someone can strike, they need information. They need to know what makes you tick, where your vulnerabilities lie, what they can use when the time is right. They don't ask because they care. They ask because they are collecting data. The Stoics understood this danger well. Seneca once said, "Silence is a lesson in itself." In other words, not everything needs to be shared. The more you reveal, the more power you give to those who may not have your best interests at heart. A wise person knows when to speak and, more importantly, when to remain silent. Take the story of Helena. She had a co-worker named Olivia who was always polite but distant. Then, seemingly overnight, Olivia became unusually friendly. She started asking Helena about her job satisfaction, her career aspirations, even small frustrations she had about the workplace. Helena, being naturally open, didn't think much of it. She appreciated having someone to talk to. Then, one day, she found out the truth. Olivia had been repeating Helena's words to their boss, but with a twist. She had taken Helena's honest concerns and exaggerated them, painting her as unreliable, as someone who wasn't truly committed to the job. The sudden interest in her life had never been about friendship. It was about gathering leverage. And Helena realized, too late, that she had handed over the very information that was used against her. So, how do you protect yourself from people like this? First, limit what you share. Not everyone who asks is asking with good intentions. If someone's curiosity feels excessive or unnatural, keep your answers vague. You don't owe anyone access to your personal life. Second, observe patterns. Are they always prying into your life, but revealing little about their own? That's a red flag. A true friend shares, they don't just extract. And third, remember that your privacy is your power. If a question makes you uncomfortable, you don't need to justify keeping your silence. In fact, silence is often the strongest defense. At the end of the day, not everyone who listens is listening out of care. Some are listening to prepare. And if someone starts fishing for personal details, ask yourself, are they trying to understand me, or are they preparing for a move against me? Because the wrong words, shared with the wrong person, can one day come back as a weapon. Stay guarded, stay observant, and never underestimate the power of silence. 3. They change their behavior without explanation. Betrayal rarely arrives with a grand announcement. More often it creeps in quietly, revealing itself in small, subtle shifts. if you're paying attention. One of the clearest but most overlooked warning signs. A sudden and unexplained change in someone's behavior. Maybe they used to be warm, engaged and reliable. Now they're distant. Conversations that once flowed effortlessly now feel forced. Plans they were once excited about are suddenly cancelled. When you ask what's wrong, you get vague responses. Just been busy. Nothing's wrong. But deep down, you know something has shifted. Here's the truth. When someone starts pulling away without a clear reason, it's often because something is happening behind the scenes. And in many cases, that something is a betrayal in progress. People don't just wake up one day and decide to withdraw from someone they care about. Emotional distance is often the first step in their process, because before a betrayer strikes, they detach, they create space, they prepare their exit. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes invaluable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Watch what a man does, not what he says." Words can be manipulated. Someone can assure you that everything is fine, while their actions scream otherwise. But actions don't lie. If someone's behavior suddenly shifts without a logical explanation, pay attention, not to their words, but to their patterns, because behavior always reveals the truth. Take the story of Lucas. He had a best friend, Daniel, whom he trusted completely. They had been inseparable for years, always making plans, supporting each other, and sharing their struggles. Then one day, something changed. Daniel became distant. He stopped responding as much. He cancelled plans at the last minute. His tone was different, less engaged, less present. When Lucas asked what was wrong, Daniel brushed it off. "Oh, I've just been busy." But something didn't feel right. The change was too sudden, too unnatural. And sure enough, a few weeks later, Lucas discovered the truth. Daniel had been speaking behind his back, turning mutual friends against him. The distance wasn't random, it was part of the process. Daniel had already decided to betray him. The emotional withdrawal was the first sign. So how do you handle this? First, don't ignore the signs. If someone's behavior changes without reason, trust your instincts. People rarely pull away for no reason at all. Second, observe patterns, not excuses. Everyone gets busy, but when someone consistently withdraws, there's usually something deeper happening. Their actions are telling a story, one they aren't putting into words. And third, prepare yourself emotionally. If someone is creating distance, they might already be making moves behind your back. Don't wait for the betrayal to fully unfold. Protect yourself now. Set boundaries, limit what you share, and observe how they behave when they think you're not watching. At the end of the day, loyalty doesn't vanish overnight. If someone is pulling away, there is always a reason. They just aren't telling you what it is. But you don't need their words to see the truth. Watch their actions, because behavior always speaks louder than betrayal itself. 4. They form unusual alliances. One of the clearest signs that someone may be planning to betray you is a sudden shift in their relationships. They start forming unexpected alliances, spending time with people who have never had your best interests at heart. They begin speaking highly of those who once criticized you, and where they once stood firmly by your side, they now seem to lean toward those who have doubted you. At first, you might dismiss it. Maybe they're just being open-minded. Maybe they're trying to keep the peace. But look closer, and you'll see that something isn't right. Here's the truth. Loyalty doesn't shift without a reason. When someone who was once in your corner begins aligning with those who opposed you, it's often because they are repositioning themselves. They're testing the waters, slowly creating distance and preparing for a move you won't see coming. Betrayal isn't sudden, it's built step by step, and changing alliances is one of its earliest signs. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus once said, "A man is known by the company he keeps. A true friend doesn't suddenly switch sides, and when they do, it's never by accident. It's a choice, one that reveals their true intentions." Consider the story of James. He had a colleague, Alex, whom he trusted completely. They had always supported each other, aligned on major decisions, and had each other's backs. But one day, James noticed something strange. Alex began forming friendships with people who had previously opposed them. He started agreeing with those who had openly criticized James's work, even defending them in conversations. At first, James brushed it off. Maybe Alex is just trying to stay neutral. But soon, the truth became clear. Alex had been slowly shifting sides, laying the groundwork for betrayal. And when the time came, he sided with their rivals in a major company decision, cutting James out entirely. So how do you handle this? First, pay attention to sudden shifts. If someone who was once loyal to you starts aligning with those who have been against you, don't ignore it. Second, don't confront too soon. Observe first. Watch how they interact, listen to what they say, and see where their loyalty truly lies. And third, protect yourself. If someone is drifting toward those who dislike you, there's a chance they are gathering information, positioning themselves, or planning something against you. At the end of the day, alliances reveal intentions. If someone who once stood by your side is now standing with those who tried to bring you down, take it as a warning, because when loyalty fades, betrayal is never far behind. 5. They subtly undermine you in public. Betrayal doesn't always begin with a grand act of disloyalty. More often it starts small, so small that at first you barely notice it. A joke at your expense, a backhanded compliment, a moment of public embarrassment that's quickly brushed off as harmless fun. At first, you might laugh along, thinking it's nothing, but over time, a pattern emerges. Their words are always just sharp enough to make you uncomfortable, but subtle enough to make it seem like you're overreacting. And if you ever call them out, they dismiss it. Relax, I was just joking. Here's the truth. Betrayal often begins with small jabs disguised as humor. A backhanded remark, a passive-aggressive comment, or a slight diminishing of your achievements in front of others. Why? Because it's a test. They want to see how much they can get away with before you push back. They want to weaken your position while maintaining their own. And, most dangerously, they want to plant seeds of doubt about you in the minds of others, slowly, carefully, without making it obvious. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca once said, "The tongue of a liar is more dangerous than a sword. A sword may cut once, but words, when used with precision, can damage your reputation, your confidence, and your relationships over time. A person who constantly makes harmless jokes at your expense isn't joking at all. They are testing the waters of betrayal, and if you let it slide, they'll only push further." Consider the story of Laura. She had a co-worker named James, someone she once considered a friend. They joked around often and she never thought much of it. But one day, she started noticing something strange. Every time she spoke up in meetings, James would make a remark, just light-hearted enough to seem innocent, but pointed enough to undermine her. "Oh wow, look at Laura taking charge today," he'd say with a smirk. If she shared an idea, he'd nod and respond, "That's bold. Let's hope it actually works." It was always subtle, No one else seemed to notice the pattern, but Laura felt it. Every comment chipped away at her credibility, little by little. And sure enough, weeks later, James openly challenged her authority in front of their boss, positioning himself as the stronger leader. The betrayal wasn't sudden. It had started long before in the form of those small public jabs. So how do you handle this? First, recognize the pattern. If someone consistently makes you the punchline of their jokes, it's not just humor, it's strategy. Watch for those subtle attempts to weaken your confidence or credibility. Second, don't brush it off. If their words make you uncomfortable, address it. You don't have to create conflict, but you also don't have to tolerate disrespect. A simple, firm response like, "I don't appreciate those kinds of jokes," can set a boundary. And third, protect your reputation. If someone is trying to undermine you, counter it by being intentional with your words and actions. Stay composed, stay confident, and don't let their comments shape how others perceive you. At the end of the day, betrayal doesn't start with a knife. It starts with words. If someone is consistently undermining you, don't wait for it to escalate. The best way to stop a betrayer is to call out the betrayal before it fully forms. 6. They give you confusing or contradictory signals. Few things are more frustrating or revealing than someone who sends mixed signals. One moment, they act like your closest ally. The next, they're distant, indifferent, or even dismissive. They say they support you, but their actions suggest otherwise. Their energy is inconsistent. Their words don't quite match their behavior. And when you try to get clarity, they dodge the conversation. Here's the truth. If someone's words and actions don't align, it means they're not being honest. Confusion isn't a sign of complexity. It's a sign of deception. When someone has genuine intentions, you don't have to guess where you stand with them. Their words and actions reinforce each other. But when someone is planning betrayal, they often send mixed signals because they're caught between two conflicting goals, maintaining their image while secretly working against you. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus once said, "Truth needs no rehearsing." When someone is honest, their words flow naturally. They don't have to carefully craft their responses or double back on what they said. But a liar, a betrayer, they have to manage two realities, one they show you and one they're hiding. And no matter how skilled they are, the cracks always start to show. Consider the story of Adrian. He was working on a business partnership with someone he trusted, David. At first, everything seemed perfect. David was enthusiastic, supportive, and eager to collaborate. But over time, Adrian started noticing inconsistencies. In private, David was fully committed. But in group settings, he became vague, hesitant, even dismissive of their shared plans. He'd say things like, "I've got your back," but never followed through on commitments. And when Adrian brought up his concerns, David would laugh it off. "Oh, you're reading too much into things." Weeks later, Adrian discovered the truth. David had been secretly negotiating with a competitor behind his back. The mixed signals weren't random. They were a warning sign that his loyalty was never real. So how do you handle people like this? First, don't ignore inconsistencies. If someone's actions don't match their words, pay attention. It's rarely accidental. Second, don't let them gaslight you. If you feel confused, it's not because you're overthinking, it's because they're being unclear on purpose. And third, trust patterns, not excuses. One contradiction might be a mistake. Repeated contradictions are a strategy. At the end of the day, truth is simple. but lies require effort. If someone is giving you mixed signals, ask yourself, are they genuinely confused, or are they trying to confuse me? Because the moment you see through the inconsistency, the betrayal loses its power. Pay attention and trust what their actions, not their words, are telling you. 7. You feel it in your gut. Sometimes the first sign of betrayal isn't something you see, it's something you feel. You can't quite explain it, but something is off. Their words sound right, but their tone, their energy, or the hesitation before they speak makes you uneasy. Maybe it's the way they avoid certain topics, how their actions don't fully match their words, or the subtle distance that wasn't there before. You try to rationalize it. Maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. But deep down, you know. Here's the truth. Your intuition isn't a random feeling. It's your mind detecting patterns your conscious brain hasn't processed yet. The subconscious picks up on micro-expressions, tone shifts, and behavioral inconsistencies that logic often overlooks. When you sense something isn't right, it's because your intuition is reading signals you haven't fully decoded yet. And the biggest mistake you can make? Dismissing it. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A wise man trusts his reason, not his emotions, yet never ignores the signs." Stoicism teaches us to think critically, to not be ruled by feelings alone. But that doesn't mean ignoring what our instincts are telling us. A rational mind uses both logic and awareness. If your gut is warning you, don't react emotionally, but don't ignore it either. Take the story of Natalie. She had a business partner she'd always trusted. On the surface, everything seemed fine. The numbers looked good, the communication was steady, and there were no obvious red flags. But something felt different. She couldn't explain it, but there was a shift in his tone, a forced enthusiasm that didn't match his usual confidence. She noticed how he started avoiding direct eye contact, how he became oddly defensive about harmless questions. Nothing was wrong, yet everything felt off. Instead of brushing it aside, Natalie started paying closer attention, and soon she uncovered the truth. Her partner had been secretly setting up a separate deal behind her back. The signs were there all along. Her intuition had warned her before the evidence did. So how do you handle this? First, don't ignore your gut. If something feels off, take it seriously. Your instincts are processing more than you realize. Second, gather information before reacting. Use your intuition as a guide, but let logic confirm the truth. Observe patterns, ask the right questions, and stay aware. And third, don't let others talk you out of what you sense. If someone's behavior feels suspicious and you feel it deep down, trust yourself enough to look deeper. At the end of the day, betrayal often whispers before it shouts. The question is, will you listen? Betrayal is rarely sudden. It unfolds in patterns long before the final act. Trust your instincts, observe the signs, and protect your peace. Comment, stay aware if this resonated, and stay tuned for more wisdom to sharpen your mind and strengthen your spirit.